Hello, everyone. Today's topic, living ourselves and letting others live, has been suggested by my wife Yelena. She emphasized that we were blessed having experienced multiple cultures firsthand. And I'm not talking about tourism, I'm talking about spending our youth in the USSR, then living in the United States for decades, and spending a lot of time in Western Europe. This gives us some unique perspective on the differences in approaches, national preferences, temperaments, and everything else, and puts all these differences in the spotlight. And the biggest one, the systemic one, is the dominance or suppression of the survival instinct. Let me start with a vivid example. When the COVID pandemic started, my wife went to Costco, which is a big box wholesale US shop retailer, and obviously we were expecting them some shortages will be inevitable. There were plenty of people there, and she was shocked by what she saw. People who haven't experienced any shortages or issues for generations, they were completely lost. They're looking haphazardly in all directions. They were trying to figure out what to grab, and mostly their choices depended on the apocalyptic and horror movies they used to watch in the past. Their shopping carts were filled with bottled water, endless bags of chips, canned tomatoes in huge quantities, and other very weird items. The only one that made sense was probably toilet paper. Overall, it produced the impression that people were going to sit on their couches, eat potatoes, and shit themselves. And actually, this is exactly the problem. People were not thinking rationally. They were not thinking that it's not a nuclear war, so most probably we will not run out of water. And obviously, it's not a couple of snow days so that you're sitting at home and eating chips. It's something that can last longer, and it did. Well, my wife Yelena absolutely knew what she needed to stock. Years of shortages in the USSR, plus very, very real shortages of everything in the first years after the USSR demise, have imprinted all those survival skills in our minds probably forever. So she stocked on cereals and grains like rice, oatmeal, millet, and everything like that, pasta, dried beans not canned, olive oil, and all other essential non-perishable staples that could last us for months or even years. And the important thing here is they are affordable, they do not take a lot of space, they are nutritious, and they can last, if not forever, then definitely for months or even years. Well, porridge or plain pasta may not be your food of choice, but still, it keeps you alive. Well, it all seems well and good with the survival instincts, but this coin has a reverse side. This harsh life with numerous shortages, social limitations, various hardships, it has not only made us incredibly tenacious and survival oriented, but also, beyond being pragmatic, we've become inherently ruthless, somewhat inflexible, easily irritable, and intolerant. Oh, I feel that examples are overdue. Here is the most striking and the most unexpected ones. Let's talk about a typical American suburban strip mall or a parking lot in front of a grocery store. Typically, there are plenty of cars parked there, and there are car lanes along the storefront so that cars can also pass. People tend to cross those car lanes at an extremely slow pace, like walking ducks. And it doesn't depend on their age. It's not only the old and the sick, it's almost everyone crossing those lanes at a turtle like speed. Which is fascinating because, first of all, they're ignoring the fact that there are fellow motorists behind the wheel waiting for them to pass. For some reason, absolutely no compassion. And the other thing, it looks like they're completely oblivious to the danger that cars pose. Of course, most drivers will give you way and let you pass. But still, haven't your parents taught you that cars in general are very dangerous and you should cross traffic lanes or streets as quickly as possible? That absolutely beats me. And the thing is, I was so irritated behind the wheel during my first months driving in the US. You cannot believe it. Moreover, since then, I've got used to this and many other things that are characteristic of a more civil, more relaxed, more advanced society, but sometimes waiting for an absolutely healthy person to pass and to cross this car lane, which takes minutes, it still gets me irritated from time to time. Sounds ridiculous, but you really need a lot of time and effort to get fully immersed into this more relaxed, more upscale culture where passing cars pose absolutely no danger to pedestrians. And it has nothing to do with education. Both my wife and I are highly educated people. It all deals with your upbringing, with your childhood, with the original hardships you had to overcome. Say when we visit our daughter, and she lives in Center City, Philly, she's extremely irritated with people she calls retarded tourists from the suburbs who do not let her get to or from work quickly enough because they are walking slowly and they are not used to the regular city pedestrian traffic. The other striking contrast we discovered was when our daughter was in middle school and there were a couple of kids with developmental issues in her class. Back in USSR, that was never like that. All kids who had developmental issues, they were sent to specialized schools and never mingled with regular kids. Moreover, for some inexplicable reason, parents of such kids were typically embarrassed of them or embarrassed of having any other impediments. And that was it. I mean, this was an extremely survival driven, ruthless society. Running an international company with offices worldwide, like Logos IT, I need to be acutely aware of the whole thing and of all these differences and wear numerous hats, or rather numerous personas, depending on the office or culture I'm dealing with. For example, when facing complex situations or failures, people from different cultures tend to react differently. People from the former Eastern Europe, as well as many Asian countries, with this common kind of rough, ruthless, survival-oriented past, they tend to never mince words and use slang or obscene terms to describe the situation. Interestingly enough, it's also age dependent. In all those same countries, younger generations who did not have to go through this school of misery and survival, they are often considerably more tolerant and calmer in very similar situations. I'm not so sure I'm always successful in manipulating all those cultural and approach related differences, but at least I'm trying hard throughout all these years. Now, in conclusion, I have a very big systemic question for you. The old civilizations, and by that I mean the traditional Western world, it has become so civil, so tolerant, so relaxed. Most of the population has completely lost their survival instincts, their feral cruelty, ruthlessness, pragmatism, let alone the ability and desire to do hard physical work. It all sounds copacetic, but at the same time presents a civilizational level issue and big problem. How are those soft, over civilized people going to survive in this same world where there are plenty of other peoples who have fully retained their survival instincts, their hunger, and their ruthlessness? I'm not so sure about that.